Welcome back, watch fans, to the #1 channel when it comes to making money with watches. That's right, we're here to discuss watches that can increase in value, that you can enjoy on the wrist, give you years of pleasure, and make you money at the same time. Why not, right? So again, we're looking for watches where you can make at least 2 to 3 times your money over the next 2 to 5 years, which is not a bad return for a hard asset that also delivers the dividends of enjoyment. Now we're going to be discussing the important topic of what's going to happen during the next recession to watch prices, right? How will watch prices be affected? Which watch prices will be affected most, and what are going to be the opportunities in the next, let's say, recession or market downturn? Now, look, I'm not a professional economist, okay? I'm maybe an amateur economist, not even an amateur economist, but look, here's kind of the things, and again, I'm not saying anything, but there are a couple of things that could be. There's a couple of risk factors that you want to keep your eye on here, which could have an impact on the economy and the watch market. Number one, the thing that really concerns me is crypto. The Bitcoin prices, they went to crazy levels, over 100 grand, and now they are crashing below like some key technical support levels, right? Now, the reality is I've always been very, very skeptical of Bitcoin. I mean, I think it's purely just a speculative vehicle with like zero underlying utility value. It's a fugazi, right? Now, again, look, it's but it's a religion. Either you believe it or you don't believe it. I'm not a believer in the church of crypto. The problem with crypto is that there could be a systemic risk. That's right, there could be a systemic risk to the financial markets because there's a lot of stuff that's become tied into it. All the speculation now is tied into it. There's also a lot of these, what we call crypto bros. It's a generational thing. Where a lot of people, especially I think under the age of, let's say, 35, maybe millennial. I'm not sure what I think maybe it's the millennials or the Gen Z, whatever it is. But there's some generations are more apt to speculate in crypto and to really become true believers. But I've also listened. I remember this is like 5 years ago. I was at a Starbucks in Marina Del Rey, California, 6 a.m. like 6:30 in the morning. I hear these old guys discussing Bitcoin. This must have been 5 years ago. Old guys. I'm talking about, like, at that time, these guys must have been in their 60s. And so, what are these old guys doing talking about crypto? Anyway, the point is, crypto could be a systemic risk to the market. Stocks are, very, very stretched valuations, especially in some of the, more frothy speculative areas. We're talking about, the whole AI theme. The AI theme has gone a little bit crazy. I think it's going to be. Look, I'm a believer in AI. I'm a believer in blockchain. I'm not a Luddite, but you got to know when the surf is up, and you got to ride the wave, right? Like this guy. Is this guy riding the wave? Let's take a look. Is he riding the wave? Let's see. Is he going to ride it? There we go. Wipe out. All right. So. You just have to be kind of realistic, right? So I think definitely the AI valuation is a little bit high. It's kind of like the .com thing at the 25 years ago, right? Like, sure, the internet is a real thing. I'm a big believer in the internet, but there is a fair value for everything, right? If something gets too overpriced and you can't get an ROI, then these things all go back into line. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you guys get it, right? Anyhow, so which watches are going to be affected? So we're about 4 minutes into this video. Interesting. I think, look, if we have a real severe recession, and there has not been a real recession in how long? 18 years. Wait, 2008. Really 2000, so let's say 2008, that's 17 years, right? 17 years. So it's been really 17 plus years since the last recession. Now, could real estate cause a market meltdown? I don't know. I think there's a lot of demand for real estate. unless they deport all the migrants, they deport all the hubcap thieves back to Bukyakistan and the Chomostanis. But no, there's actually a lot of demand for real estate. So I don't see, there's not really, the loan standards are pretty good. I mean, you can say the office space, but I don't think the office space, the commercial thing is, well, you don't know. I'm really, hey, I'm not a bank examiner. I don't know how deep the exposure is, etc. I think a lot of the banks probably have cut a lot of the risks. There's been some liquidation, so we don't know what the real situation is, right? But listen, there could be different risk factors. So okay, so what's going to get affected by the watch? Which watch is going to be affected, right? So look, again, bottom line is there hasn't been a recession in 17 years. That's a long time. That's a long time to be without a recession. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a period that long, right? Now you could say, okay, well, because the 2008 recession was so deep that, then you have the, you know how it works. You get a longer recovery period, etc. But then again, the Great Depression, what was that, in the 30s, and the boom lasted how long? I think really into the 50s. Maybe you could say, hey, listen, I don't know. Nobody knows. Only God knows these things, right? So, bottom line is that we're definitely due for something, right? It's just cycles, right? No tree goes to the moon. And again, I'm a big fan of El Trump. I think El Trump is the greatest American emperor of all time. I think he's going to do an amazing job. But there could be short-term pain. There could be a real possibility of short-term pain. Why? Well, when you get rid of all these mooch bums, these leeches, these parasites that are sucking the blood of the American people, right? These various grifters in the government, the what do we call it? The surplus elite, right? You got all these grifters out there. There's a whole grifter class. That's right. There's a grifter class. Just like you have these, just like you have on these watch live streams, you get all these grifters. You got the Artem Pizdets, you got JJ Bukyak, you got the groomers and all that. Well, the same thing in the government, right? You got a whole class of grifters out there who basically have all sorts of scams that they're, illegally fleecing the government, basically, which makes you and I, we're paying for it, right? So El Trump and El Elon are basically they're cutting the fat, right? But when you cut the fat, so all that spending goes away. So a lot of spending, there could be, I don't know, if they save $1 trillion in spending, okay, if they $1 trillion in waste basically will take out $1 trillion from the economy, right? Because that is spending, right? So these grifters that sell various useless stuff to the government, they spend money on watches like this. That's right. Some of those grifters are, supporters of the channel. Some of those government grifters are big supporters of this channel. So, if El Elon and El Trump, send those guys to the guillotines, then what happens? What happens? It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. This channel we may have to do another telethon to raise money. It's things are just falling off a cliff out here. This is what's happening in California. It's falling off a cliff. It's all going downhill. I mean, it's unbelievable, but true. But listen, that's the way it works. Where were we? We're talking about making money with watches and which watches are most likely to get affected. All right, so I believe that the watches that are going to get whacked. I believe the watches are going to get whacked. Are probably going to be. It's probably going to be stuff like I think the middle class stuff is going to get hit first, right? So you're talking about your average Rolex, okay? The middle class watches. So that means watches, the kind of starter luxury, I would call it. Your kind of stuff under 25 grand, right? So Rolex could take a hit, right? But when I say a hit, there is so much demand for Rolex, frankly, and there's more and more demand globally, that the only thing I see happening is prices going back to kind of historical, kind of the historical thing, which was they sold at a discount. Even, oh yeah, the Steel Sports. Yeah, the Steel Sports would sell at a discount. Maybe not the Daytona, because I don't know. You got this again. It's a Daytona is a cult. It's a cult of Daytona. All right, it is idiots, but they're true believers. It's like Bitcoin. Okay, they're Bitcoin bros who and Daytona. I don't know. They love Daytona, so Daytona will not sell at a discount. It may always sell at a premium. It could be the case. Why not? I think what's the thing with Ferrari? They always ask him, what's the secret to Ferrari? And he said, well, we always make one Ferrari less, one car less than the market demands, right? Which is pretty funny. I think that's the case with Daytona. So again, the middle class watchers are going to take a hit. I think this, and also the hype watches. I think the super frothy hype watches. So Audemars Piguet, anything that's associated maybe with very conspicuous consumption type of stuff, like Richard Mille, AP, those flashy type watches, because a lot of those guys who buy that are, they're fake millionaires, right? That word, they're fake millionaires. They're the guys who basically take HELOC loans, credit card loans, or whatever to pay for their watches, because they're brokesters, right? So when they get margin called, when they lose their job, then it's going to get difficult. Then you also have, again, speaking of people with jarbs, you got the guys like the Bogan of Brisbane, who doesn't have a jarb, but he relies on beg streaming. So I think the beg streamers are going to take a real hit. I think Artem Pizdets, JJ Bukiak, I think those guys are going to lose a lot of weight, which is good for them, right? Those, they're very obese individuals, and they need to lose some weight. You got to stop feeding these rats. So those guys, I think that's going to be the canary in the coal mine. The canary in the coal mine is going to be when you see these rats starting to get desperate and sell off of their watches. So when the Bogan of Brisbane sells his Breguet shitters, which he may not even own, that could be just a grift. He's probably getting those like as a loaner from this guy Dave, which is another lowlife in Australia. I mean, they're all lowlives in Australia. I mean, they're inbred with kangaroos. So I think he's getting those watches from Dave. He probably owns only one watch, and the other two watches are kind of like loaners, which Dave gives him to spruik, so that Archie can then, he's gonna wear. Look, I think what he does is he wears the watch like 3 times on video. He doesn't really wear it outside. He just wears it on camera. Because it gives him something to talk about, and then like 4 months later he says, "Oh, then it gives him, it's the circular drama cycle." Then he goes, "Oh, I'm tired of the watch." Oh, then it gives him another month of doing videos about, should I sell the watch? Should I buy the? It's the usual nonsense, all right? So it gives him an opportunity to of course, the watch goes back to this guy Dave, who sells it to some mooch bum. That is a sucker, like you guys who are probably buying these Breguet watches. So don't be suckers, don't be tomato cans. Breguet is going to get hit hard. So I believe Breguet is one of the watches that's going to get wrecked in the upcoming financial crisis. Part 2. Stay tuned for part 2.